Hi there. I have been doing some research on the tooth fairy. All right. I was reflecting back on my experiences with my children and the tooth fairy and thinking, how did the tooth fairy start? And what I found out that is in Scandinavia, the Vikings believed the teeth to be a good luck charm in battle. And so they wore them on necklaces. And when their children lost teeth, they paid them for the tooth. All right. Now, Delta Dental had done a survey of over, I think, 1,000 parents, asking them about the tooth fairy. And in 1998, the average that they were giving children was about $1.30. Now, in 2023, a few months ago, they were giving $6.23. That's a lot. And they were saying between 9 and 12 years of age is when the tooth fairy stopped coming, according to what these parents were saying. Well, in my maternal family, I was the first generation to receive money from the tooth fairy. And I asked my mom, I said, you all didn't do the tooth fairy? And this was some years ago. And she said, no. She said, nobody had no money to throw around like that. We ain't play that. So now, as a child, I never really believed in the tooth fairy. What I mean is, I believe my mother was putting the money underneath my pillow. And when I placed the tooth under my pillow at night, in the morning, the tooth was gone. I found a quarter. That was the going rate back then in the 50s, a quarter. When I recently, or well, my mama passed in 2014, so but I had asked her, what did she do with my baby teeth? And she said she had thrown them away right after she took them underneath the pillow. So maybe I'm a little bit more sentimental because I saved all my children's teeth in little jars, and if they haven't thrown them out, they probably still have them. But anyway, getting the money was always a treat to look forward to receiving. Losing the teeth wasn't. They were either pulled out by the dentist and or eating the sucker. Do you remember those slow poke suckers? And you bite down on it, and when you kind of tug it out of your mouth, and there's a tooth in it if you had a loose tooth. Even my grandfather one time tied a string to my tooth, and then he yanked on it and pulled the tooth out, or it just fell out where you're eating. And I was so glad that I didn't swallow a tooth, at that time. Now, a friend told me a tooth fairy story about her daughter. The two of them had gone to a Disney store in the mall, and her daughter was trying to persuade her mother to buy a toy, and it was an expensive toy. And so the conversation was something like this: Mommy, I really want this toy. It's just what I've been wishing I could get. Will you please buy it for me? Pretty, please, pretty, please. And so the mother said, Darling, this toy costs more than what I want to spend on a toy. Why don't you buy it from the money that you save? Oh, no, no, I can't spend my money. The only way I can get more money is to lose teeth. Of course, now we all know the great exaggeration, but it didn't work in that instance. Now to tell you about my experience of being the tooth fairy. Because Floyd, my late husband, and I wanted to be good parents, we had numerous times had discussions about what we were going to do and not going to do with the children. And right off the bat, we eliminated Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny. That was from the get go. But the tooth fairy was kind of in a non religious class all by herself, okay? We figured it was cute. Here we go. And that the children, by the time they started losing teeth at 5 or 6 years old, they would know it was just a game. So when Winston, my son, lost his first tooth, we made a big deal out of the tooth fairy coming that night, and Winston would get some money. Well, that night we slipped a quarter underneath his pillow while he was sleeping. The next morning, Winston wasn't overly surprised, but he was pleased to get the money. However, at the breakfast table, he made a comment about how little the tooth fairy had left for him. We said something like, well, that's the going rate for teeth these days. And besides, the tooth fairy didn't take the tooth so we could save it. Okay. This only produced a shrug on Winston's face, and he went back to eating. Now, Floyd and I were a little disappointed that the quarter and our midnight roost hadn't produced the jubilance from Winston that we had anticipated because he was into this. So the next time we upped the ante and left $1. Okay, this brought the jubilance. But sometimes, we both had the feeling that we've been hustled. Okay, the kid had hustled us. Okay, so when Winston was 7, by this time a seasoned fairy money receiver, he began to overtly talk about knowing that we were the tooth fairy. Boy, and I never admitted it because we wanted to keep the game going. However, we knew we had to be careful and not get caught at our own game. So when Winston lost the next tooth, we debated who would be the best secret agent to deliver the money and escape undetected. We both wanted the challenge, but when I figured out that the agent would have to wait until near midnight to make sure that Winston was in a deep sleep, I quickly acquiesced and Floyd got that assignment. Okay. Floyd waited until after 11:30 and tiptoed down the hall into Winston's room. Floyd carefully slipped his hand underneath the pillow, and quick as a flash, Winston grabbed his hand and said, "Gotcha!" That was the end of the Tooth Fairy. But as I reflect on my Tooth Fairy experiences, and if I had it to do over, I wouldn't continue to perpetrate that fantasy. I really wouldn't. Truth and honesty are such a rare commodity that I wouldn't sacrifice them for the temporary pleasure of either myself or the children. This story is not an indictment against having fun with our children, but it exposes one type of little white lie, if you want to call it, in the hopes of eradicating falsehoods. We want to get rid of falsehoods out of our lives. A Yiddish proverb says, "A half truth is a whole lie." And another quote from someone on the internet said, "When you stretch the truth, watch out for that snapback." All right. As believers, we need to weed out all lies and traditions that are masquerading as some kind of truth. And there's several places in the Old and New Testament that tell us, "Thou shalt not bear false witness." Well, I hope there was something that you could relate to in this story. And please like and share and subscribe if you haven't. Shalom to the next time.